So England will be hoping to go one better at Euro 2024. And funnily enough, this campaign gets started where the last one ended against the Italians. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host and proud Italy fan, Ty. And when I asked him earlier today, or maybe yesterday, to say what we're actually going to be doing the podcast on, he said that we've definitely got to talk about the internationals. And to be honest, I've been kind of exhausted with the World Cup, like internationals, because the World Cup's not long ended. And then I looked at who we were playing and I was like, yeah, of course. Now I know why he wants to talk about it. So, but before we jump into the game and take a deep dive into all the information that's coming out of each camp, there's breaking news that Marcus Rashford has pulled out the England squad after picking up a knock in Man United's win over Fulham on Sunday. Now,
Bullshit.
that was going to be one of my questions, but yeah. So we've got. I was going to say that England, for the first time in a while, have got one of the most feared front three. Would you not agree with Saka, Harry Kane, probably the least in form out of the three, and then Rashford? Now, what kind of impact does this have on England, and do you think this is legitimate?
I don't know. There's always a bit of dodginess going around, but Marcus Rashford's. I mean, to be fair, I think Ten Hag's probably thinking, "What's the point?" Because he'll end up going to the bench and he'll probably play Mason Mount on the left wing or something stupid that Southgate does. So that's part of it. Is like, do we need to go there? I mean, there's probably a niggle. I mean, if it was a World Cup final, I think he's fit and he's playing. But
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those. I mean, it's a tough game, obviously, isn't it? But yeah, no, I don't know. It would always be guessing, but. It wouldn't surprise me if they are pulling the other one.
Yeah. So, like me, if you are a little bit worn out, still worn out from the World Cup, I didn't know really too much about this. I thought it was actually going to be friendlies. But just to give you a little bit of background on the game coming up, the game is on Thursday and it will be held in the Diego Maradona Stadium in Napoli. And it's the first qualifying game of Euro 2024, which is, of course, going to be held in Germany. England's second game, which is on Sunday, is against the Ukraine, and all matches, including Thursday's game, are going to be on Channel 4, kind of like old school Gazzetta style. The group consists of Italy, Ukraine, North Macedonia, and Malta, with the top two qualifying. Now, obviously, Ty, mentioned that you're a big Italy fan. You missed out on the World Cup. I'm presuming that it's going to be good to see the Azzurri back in action, especially against England.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's always good when we play England. We won a European Championship when we played them, so great memories playing England. Hopefully, some of the players that played in that final will be playing as well. I mean, there's a couple of. I mean, Italy. We were unlucky in that the World Cup campaign was massive, was destroyed for us by. I mean, apart from Jorginho missing penalties, he scores one of them. We're through. We had two huge players for us that were out injured. Spinazzola, who got injured actually in the Euros, and Chiesa as well. They're both back fit now and playing, so they're absolutely huge. We've got Nonto's obviously now. People in England have got to see him, plays for Leeds. A brilliant young player. He will go all the way. And there's obviously the midfield's coming together again. You got Verratti, Barella's just playing. Bella Pellegrini at Roma. Fratesi, there's some good players, really good players there. And having Spinazzola, you got Di Lorenzo from Napoli as well, who played in the Euros. And I wasn't his biggest fan, but he's just stepped up from there and he's been really good. Defensively, I still think there's bits where we can be better and we're not as good as we can. I don't know if Bastoni's in there. Bastoni's probably our best centre half. He plays for Inter Milan. There's Bonucci who's getting on a bit, but it's just for me. The biggest thing, I mentioned it to you today as well. I was surprised to find England the favourites for the game, and I don't understand how that is the case. I mean, Italy have beaten them in the Euros. They drew the last game with essentially a reserve team. I think it was during COVID, but Italy were the better side. And it's in Naples as well. It's in Italy are playing at home. I don't understand what England have done that's been brilliant. And every time England play against a decent team, they'll generally lose. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how they're favourites, but you know, maybe it's patriotic money that's shifted it for England to be favourites. But no, I'm happy with where we are now. Italy's weakness was always, you know, we don't have a quality number 9, and that's still the case. But we've got players that can. I mean, Chiesa had a goal playing at false 9. Berardi can play there as well. There's numbers that can. We've got Skamaka from West Ham, but you know, that just sort of shows where we're at. Where our sort of weakest areas. Probably as a 9, and yeah, that's probably an area we could do. You know, ideally we could do with a top class number 9, but couldn't everyone.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say to you. It probably is down to patriotism why we are favourites in the game. But it's been maybe 18 months, something along those lines, since we played in the final. Would you say that there's, you know, you just went through it there, but briefly, would you say that there's been a massive shift in the way that Italy will be going ahead with this game, or do you think there's just a couple of additions from what we saw in the final?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chiellini's obviously retired. He's the one that's moved on. Midfield of Jorginho, Barella, and Verratti, they're all available. But whether you might rotate one of them out. The front three, Immobile is not playing now, and Belotti's not in the squad as well. So it's, you know, we've got Berardi and Chiesa. Whether he plays, you know, I'd imagine he played both, and they got none.
Yeah, so still experienced there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say vast majority of the team from the Euros will be there. But again, it comes down to the midfield is so talented. You know, they keep the ball for fun, and it'll come to a point. I mean, I think the England's problem is you've got Declan Rice who's playing for West Ham one game. Calvin Phillips did 50 minutes. And even when they were at full pelt, they just couldn't get the ball off Italy in the final. Do you know what I mean? And that's the bit where England always fall down, I think, when they play against the top teams, is the ability to keep the ball under pressure, you know, and then work your way through the third. So we'll see where that goes. But generally, Italy's team is the same.
So moving on to England, Harry Kane will break England's goal scoring record if he scores in Napoli. Just want to ask you your thoughts on that achievement, and how does Harry Kane's career go down, overall career?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be England's top goal scorer. He'll end up being the Premier League top goal scorer as well. I think that's how you're going to remember him. And if you look back, I don't think there'll be too many differences between his career and Alan Shearer's. Like, if you ask Alan Shearer, how would you say Alan Shearer? Oh, brilliant goal scorer, and that's how you probably remember Harry Kane. Although Harry Kane, a lot better passer than Shearer. Do you know what I mean? But I think Harry Kane is just. There came a point a few years ago when he could have left Spurs, and that was his moment. But once he decided to stay, I think he knew he was staying there for the records. He's going to break England record. He's going to break the Premier League goal scoring record, and he will do both. But for what he's done for England and his achievement, and he's just ice cold, and he's brilliant. You know, and I know he gets knocked on. You know, always says, "Oh, Calvin Lewis should be playing, or Tony should be playing." Bullshit. I mean, he's one of the best strikers in the world. There's no other way about it. Every manager that's had him has said the same. Any opposition player that comes up against him has found out he's one of the best in the world as well. He's a top player.
Well, we might as well work our way back through the team, seeing as how you mentioned Ivan Toney there. Obviously, his name was a bit of a, not a surprise inclusion, but because of what's going on around him at the moment, you know, maybe it was somewhat of a choice which Gareth Southgate thought that he probably had to do. But with the news that Rashford is now out, Mason Mount's had to pull out also. So, you know, you were thinking that the three up top would have been nailed down: Rashford, Saka, and Harry Kane. What do you think about the inclusion of Ivan Toney, and do you think he'll actually get some game time this time? Because of course he didn't last time.
Oh, you never know with Southgate. I think Southgate, for him to take Harry Kane off, he's almost got to have one leg. So has he ever taken Harry Kane off? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he has. And Harry Kane's had some really shit games. Top player, but he's had some shit games. And it's having that, you know, do you have that ruthlessness in you to pull the trigger and take you? But then it's like, to take him off, you're going to need a goal generally. And is your best. So you get it. It is a catch-22 situation. But no, for me, Everton, I mean, it would be it's just the way England play. They only play with one up top, don't they? So it's not like Tony can play. I mean, if it's really adventurous, Harry Kane does drop deep. You could potentially drop Kane into a 10 and play Tony up top, play with his two sitters. But it's not something that I can imagine Southgate to do. So it's going to be Yeah, no, I can't see Tony getting many minutes again unless Harry Kane gets injured. I mean, I don't see a situation where potentially if they're losing and they're losing by 2 and they need him on, then they go 2 up top, and maybe they go 3-5-2. That's the only way I see it because it's never going to be 4-4-2. It'll be 3-5-2, and whether he goes instead of 3-4-3, he pushes 2 up top and plays a 10 in there as well. So yeah, so that's the only way I can see him, but. The other way is England have got to be winning 3-0 and Tony comes on for the last 15 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking. I was thinking the same. It had to have been a friendly. These two games are actual qualifiers, so there's no chance I can see him getting on the left side where I think Rashford would have went in. Is probably going to be, someone like Grealish coming in, or maybe Phil Foden. So moving on to the midfield. I just want to ask you, is there any merit in picking your favourites? Because, you mentioned earlier you've got the inclusion of Calvin Phillips, and, he's barely had any time. We can add Conor Gallagher now. Maybe he's the new generation of these midfielders that don't get any game time for the club, but as almost a certain pick for the national team.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I saw the squad and I was like, what? I mean, I get it's obviously Trent not being in it. I get that. He's been shit.
I get it, yeah.
I get it. I've got no issue with that. Harry Maguire's not played and he's playing. Eric Dyer's been shit and he's in. Conor Gallagher's not played and he's in. Calvin Phillips hasn't played and he's in. He's played like 50 minutes. I'm like, come on. So there's got to be a balancing amongst all that. And it's hard to justify one when you're doing the complete opposite for the other. So, I mean, if Conor Gallagher's the best England I've got to offer, then we well and truly fucked.
Yeah.
you can't be relying on Conor Gallagher or Conor Gallagher's of this world. I mean, the fact Jordan Henderson's there, he's in the same thing as Liverpool. We need him. We know he's what you're gonna get from him is he's a good player. But for that next step, it's like you need quality. It's almost like Declan Rice is now shoehorned into an absolute starter because of the lack of options around there. I mean, James Ward-Prowse, is he in the squad? I mean, it probably,
I believe
he should, he's even though he's playing for Southampton or like bottom. There's like, where is the real Jude Bellingham? You've got Jude Bellingham's obviously the quality, bit of, gold dust in there. It's just thinking where the rest of the players come into, and you know what I mean. So it's a tough one. So, but yeah, for me, I think I just don't get it comes back to his favourites, isn't it? He's always going to pick the players that he loves and he wants. I think there's Mason Mount in there as well. So that's
he's injured. He's out injured.
Well, there you go. Yeah, he's injured. Yeah. So who his favourites are, and they always tend to get picked. So it's the two that didn't get picked as well for me, and we talk about players that should really be there, and especially if they're playing Italy, is Fikayo Tomori and Tammy Abraham. I mean,
yeah,
you just Tomori's like England's best centre half. It's because he's not in the Premier League. People don't realise what he's doing now. But he is. Tammy Abraham. I mean, why doesn't he just get? It's another one. It's Abraham, Kane, and Tony, England's best three. He should be playing there. He's someone who knows the opposition. But it's like, what's the point? He'll come on for 10 minutes and he's gonna do it. But the Tomori one I don't get because it's not like we've got any standout centre halves.
No, even we haven't even got Smalling. There's a shout for him, even though he's not really a ball playing centre back. It's like he completely ignores other countries other than the fact that Jude Bellingham. But Italy's renowned for excellent defensive teams, defensive displays, defensive players, and for him to overlook that, I just really don't understand it. I'm going to ask you about your confidence levels on this game as my last question, but I just wanted to quickly move on to the build-up has been overshadowed by the potential for violence. Obviously, the game's held in Naples. There was recent violence between Napoli and Eintracht Frankfurt. The FA have given assurance over fan welfare and considering the Liverpool in Paris, and obviously you were at the Euro final last year. You have first-hand experience. Are UEFA doing enough to allay any fears that potentially could happen?
No, I think UEFA, we've got to break it down. UEFA are a football governing body. They're not an events organiser. So whenever there's a match, a football match is essentially an event, and it's hosted by whichever country's at home. So the responsibility is always on that team. Now, the issue I've got that's not an issue, and the worry I've got is because I was there as an Italy fan, and I remember the way some Italy fans were treated by English fans. It's if that gets reciprocated, it's not going to be good because it wasn't pretty and it was nasty. It was horrible. It was like a throwback to the 70s and 80s. So
Yeah,
that's
can I just interject there? You hit the nail on the head there, because a lot of the headlines are based around the fact that how England fans are going to get treated. But like you just said there, people in glass houses and throwing stones and all that kind of stuff. So sorry, continue where you were.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the England fans were an absolute disgrace. I mean, obviously, I spoke about living in England with fans, friends, family, and all England support, so I get it. And I was embarrassed to live here, to be English, when I saw some of the stuff that was going on, the way families and women were being treated, the way guys were being treated, the way we had slobs. It was just an absolute disgrace. So I'm just. And Italy fans were there. There were plenty of Italy fans, friends and family will relay that back to them. And you will get the ultras and hooligans kicking off, and that's just it. You know what I mean? And you're in Naples, which is probably one of the, it's the mafia run that shit there. You know what I mean? It's like the roughest part of Italy. So to get out, I can see there being issues. Obviously, you mentioned the Frankfurt stuff, whereas this is more historical. And the fact last time they played each other was the final as well. So there's history behind it. And I'm just thinking, yeah. So England needs to sort of, we're not the, shining light for the world, even though we think he has when it comes to football. So I just think recently, the last time we hosted a major tournament, it was an absolute embarrassment.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, the top two will qualify from the group, and it's not exactly a foregone conclusion because we've got another quality team in the group, Ukraine. And I mentioned before with Italy missing the previous tournaments, are you confident that you'll qualify from this group, and which two of them three do you think will go through?
I mean, am I confident? I'm always hopeful with Italy. I'm just like, we'll absolutely piss it and we'll just have something catastrophic happen and we won't qualify. We get through to a major tournament where we're always there, we're there or thereabouts. We don't fuck about, like England turn up and just crumble every time. So we make sure we get our job done when we get through. So I think, yes, I'm confident. But obviously the game against England's obviously really important. Got to win our home games. I think the Ukraine and North Macedonia are tricky games as well, and it's probably where Italy fell down last at the World Cup. Just those sort of teams that you'd think you'd call weaker teams, but there's no real weak teams in national football now because all the players play for like top teams. So confident is a big word. I'm going to go with hopeful.
That's what I was going to say about the game on Saturday. I'm going to give you my prediction, then I want you to give yours, and obviously the question on the day after that. But what you just said there, I am not confident. I am more than hopeful. I'm wearing my England top, so I can't predict anything other than an England win. So I'm going to go with a smash and grab 2-1. Harry Kane to score both goals. What about yourself?
2-0 Italy, Chiesa to get a brace.
Okay, interesting. And your question of the day?
My question of the day is quite simply this. Will England be successful in this European Championship campaign with Gareth Southgate at the helm? At what point do fans turn on him? There's been murmurings already so far. How many opportunities does he get against big teams that are not performing? So every game that he has lost has been a game where it's been a tight game. Every game he's won has been when England have been favourites. Mm-hmm. At what point does it turn and the pressure firmly put on the FA to get rid of him?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it would take some kind of dumping out of the competition, but it's interesting. I can see we've got a couple of minutes left. What would you determine as success? Because obviously you got to the final last time. Is success going that step further, or is semi-final just not enough?
No, I think. I mean, England. The issue with England is, and the question will always. When they come up against a team that are their equals or slightly better than them, they lose. They lose,
yeah.
And that's it. It's not about winning. I mean, even if they beat France and lost the semi, it's like, oh, if only. They've had I do liken them to Man City and Man United's recent cup runs. They've got at home against League One, at home against Championship. Everything's going. You get that feel good factor around you, and you get through and you win, and it's all right. The draws have been very kind to England recently. So this is the first sort of group stage where I think they've got proper team, in Italy. and then it's like there's a chance they might end up having to fight for second against Ukraine. You know, that can happen, and Ukraine are no mugs as well. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I can see it being a three-way between, you know, whoever gets 2 spots from them three.
Excellent. So with that being said, we'd like you to put your comments down below, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and also answer Ty's question of the day. And yeah, I'd like to wish you good luck for the game, but obviously absolutely no chance, and hopefully we can come away with a good result.
I hope we do come away with a good result, yes.
Yeah.
Cheers, a brace. Thank you for watching, guys.
See you later, guys. Bye.